Hey, as always, this is Sho, and in follow-up with my previous First Thoughts video, I wanted to dive a bit more into the lewd tower defense game Duel Princess. But first, as always, if you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel, please hit that subscribe button to send your love my way. It really means a lot, so thank you. Now, let's dive in and dish out some punishment. Developed by Qureate, a company more or less centered on slightly more aero visual novels, Duel Princess is described as a roguelite tower defense game. The story centers on 10 princesses, all blessed with magic crests, who must fight each other in a battle royale of sorts to consolidate the crest powers into a single princess who can defeat the great demon lord. In concept, a fairly cool idea. However, as I mentioned in my First Thoughts video, the story is trope-focused, with each princess being a single walking personality trait. You got your country-spirited redhead, your ice princess, the smart but clueless one, and if you played Prison Princess, both Arya and Xena return, so that was cool for me. With that said, don't expect much with the story. It's full of innuendos, jokes, and somewhat cringy dialogue. However, the game is self-aware, much like the Neptunia series, so I did find myself chuckling quite a bit at what was going on. The main gimmick to the plot, however, is the punishment system. A princess who loses their duel must forfeit their crest, and to do so requires them to relax. And this is accomplished by, well, lewd. If you played Criminal Girls or Valkyrie Drive, then you'll understand what that entails exactly. I'll outline the mechanics more later, so just sit tight. Visuals, on the other hand, are actually really nice. The game combines traditional anime styles in the dialogue sections with a pseudo-chibi style for the actual fights. The colors are extremely vibrant and the details are really front and center. It's honestly one of the strong suits of this game. Audio isn't bad at all. The music is kinda there, it gets the job done, but really nothing to write home about. I must admit, however, that the Japanese voiceovers are fantastic. The VOs are really exemplify their characters. So once you hear one, you have an immediate image of their personality, given that you're into recognizable anime tropes. Performance-wise, no issues and well optimized. Short loading times and easy to navigate. Honestly, no issues. However, I will point out a few inconsistencies with the English translation, a few missing letters here or there, and Carla can't figure out if her name starts with a C or a K. However, given the nature of the game and the company involved, I'm not going to bite into this so much. As mentioned before, the game describes itself as a roguelite tower defense game that has, I guess we can say, interaction mechanics? So let's just start with the actual gameplay. At its core, the tower defense game uses a lot of typical mechanics. Battles play out with your base on the left, your enemy on the right, with the goal of knocking them out. So to do so, you're granted mana crystals that are used to summon unit cards from your hand. In general, you have 5 cards available at any given moment, and your mana crystals regenerate intermittently. Once you have the required mana crystals, you can summon your unit, which will leave your base and make their way across the map. Be wary, however, as the AA will do the same. To add a level of strategy in combat, a weapon triangle is in play that works as follows. Spears beat swords, swords beat bows, bows beat spears. All unit cards are classified under these 3 categories and they're color coordinated as well, so you can very easily understand what you have available at a given moment to counter your opponent easily. Additionally, if you have 2 of the same card in your hand, you can use the override system to combine them together, creating a boosted unit card that is significantly stronger. Keep in mind, however, when using the override system, you will lose 1 copy of that card for the rest of the battle. So, great for a short burst of power, just make sure you don't damage the consistency of your deck. The princesses themselves also play into the strategy, as you'll need to consider each having a special skill that's unique to them. For example, Barbara boosts crit rate and damage on her skills activation, whereas Clara instantly adds more cards in your hand past your limit of 5. So, understanding which cards synergize best with your princess is key for good deck building. Speaking of deck building, let's talk about the units. During your playthrough, you can hold 20 cards in your deck, but in total there are 50 different units, each with their own stats, skills, and fighting style. Some units, such as the Defender, have extremely high HP and defense stats, and actually push the enemy units back with their shields, but they move extremely slow across the map. Others, such as the Scout, deploy as a set of 3 units, not just 1 unit, and move extremely quickly. So you'll want to think about how each unit plays with each other and how you can synergize it with your princess. Also, it's important to note that each princess has 4 unique unit cards. Upon completion of their story, you'll be able to unlock those cards for use with other princesses, so that adds to the strategy in later campaigns. In regards to the campaigns themselves, each princess will fight 3 other princesses during their story. Once started, you'll begin on a map screen on an open circle. You will have 5 randomly drawn cards at the bottom to choose what action you would like to take for this round. In general, you have battle cards, either standard or elite, camping and shop cards, and event cards. Battle cards obviously pop you in the battles, getting gold and new units as rewards. Camping allows for you to spend a turn to get free loot, upgrade the level of one of your unit cards, or to freely remove cards from your deck. The shop cards allow you to do the same as the camping cards, but you'll need to use your gold to do these instead. Finally, event cards are story cutscenes that usually result in getting a free card and increasing the level of your princesses, which further boosts her stats and skills. To note, princess levels does not boost your unit levels. That's contingent on something called a player level, which I'll cover in the next section. So, in general, there are a lot of simple mechanics at play that when used together are, at least for me, extremely addicting. For newcomers, it's simple to pick up, and for veterans, you'll be working on ways to maximize the potential of your decks. I don't normally like card-based defense games like this, but I do admit I had a really fun time going through the campaigns. Now, I'll very briefly cover the punishment mechanics, so I'll be keeping my video zoomed in for sections here, just for the sake of YouTube. Now, if you played Criminal Girls, there's nothing new here. You'll be treated to a CG of the defeated princess in a very, very provocative pose. You'll have 4 item cards that you can select at the bottom to use on the princess to relax her. You have a relax gauge that is kept on the right side of the screen. After selecting an item, you'll move the cursor around the princess and you can see the amount of relaxing on the gauge based on the location of the cursor. The goal here is to get as high as possible. So you'll have an item count on the bottom left to track how many more times you can relax the princess. Early on, you won't be able to max this gauge, just getting it as high as possible. However, as your play level increases, you'll be awarded more actions per round. Now, look, I gotta put this out here. My biggest issue with the punishment is the consistency. Honestly, in an hour of gameplay, I've done this minigame about 3 to 4 times, which just feels too ham-fisted. Given the overall narrative, it's really just in there for fan service with no real logical or rational way to justify it. So, it's there. You'll be doing it a lot. Best prepare yourself. The main difficulty in the game is contingent on the aforementioned player level, this game's roguelike mechanic. As you complete or fail campaigns, you'll gain player experience, which increases your player level. This level sets the default level of your units. Now, each campaign has a recommended player level to be able to beat it. So, with that in mind, it's possible to farm lower level campaigns to gain more experience for the higher level ones. This can trivialize the game at times, as you'll be able to brute force your way past enemies with ease. Now, if you decide to fight on the same level, or maybe a bit under, this is where the challenge really is. The AI tends to be fairly smart, especially with their elite battles, and will try to force you into a corner if you are mindless with your strategy. I've had the misfortune of drawing a bunch of high cost cards when the AI spammed a lot of lower cost cards at me. So, one must be mindful of their deck composition. Stacking strong but high cost cards will not always work. The Princess boss battles also follow the same general principle, however they are a lot more predictable. At 50% health, Princess battles will always do 3 things. First, all of your units will be pushed back to the middle of the field. Though to note, this also happens at 50% with elite battles too. Second, princesses will always use their unique skill. Third, they will usually drop 3 to 5, maybe 6 unique units at one time. This can be extremely dangerous, and you can very easily be pushed back and lose the game. However, there are ways to handle this fairly easily, and I will get into that shortly. In all, the game itself isn't too challenging if you farm and grind up the player levels. Even if you decide to go in at the same level, after a few losses, the game will make sure you have the power you need to continue. So for newcomers, there really is no penalty for losing, or making bad decisions. For veterans, I could see many being a bit bored with the difficulty level, especially for those who push that player level really early on. So aside from the player level farming, the big cheese here is that override system. When using it, you combine the levels of both cards into one. So if you have a level 3 Spearman, and you combine it with a level 2 Spearman, congrats! You now have a level 5 Spearman, and this will wreck anything lower than it. The key to success for your deck then is to always have a core of about 7 or so units, and then make sure you have a duplicate of each. As soon as you can, override 2 or 3 to keep in your hand, and play the remaining 2 or 3 free cards to just keep up your forces. If you falter at any time, use one of your overrides. With princess battles, try to get the upper hand early, hold on to at least 2 override units, and then get your crystals to regenerate as close to 10 as you can just before that 50% life mark. When the enemy princess drops below and uses her skill, immediately use yours and summon all your overrides as quickly as you can. If you can make another override during this time, do it. This combination will usually allow you to keep your ground and weather their skill assault. Then, after that, it's only a matter of time until you achieve victory. Finally, as I mentioned before, you can unlock Princess's unique unit cards to use for other campaigns. Barbara's General is the first legendary you get, and it absolutely owns. It's a mounted spearman that grants an attack or a boost when it's on the field. This is basically a free mini princess skill that is always active, and you can get it right from the get-go in your first playthrough, usable in any playthrough. So if you can grab it early, do it. In all, Duel Princess is a simple and easy but very addictive tower defense game that both newcomers and veterans can find some joy in. The simple mechanics and easy difficulty are great for those who can stomach the loot every 20 minutes. Those looking for a more intimate challenge know that there's a lot of other card-based roguelike games that are more than likely going to fit your needs, and without all the loot too. Anyway, thanks for checking out the video. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to pick this one up, or if you already have after checking out my First Thoughts video. I don't normally drop attack reviews so close to after a First Thoughts, so I hope that this could expand on any questions you may have with this game. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. Now, as always, if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for sending your love through that. It really means a lot to me. This is Show, and just remember, if the going gets tough, just switch strats. Cheers!